Well, this is I don't want to say this is part two, but this is like a follow-up to one of the videos I did quite recently that was about dog parks and how come they're not really the greatest place to take your dog. So this is about alternatives to the dog park. Before we begin, I want you guys to think about why you got a dog. Was this going to be a hiking buddy? Was this going to be an exercise buddy? Is this just your companion? Who is this? Who is this dog? And then I want you to think about, is the dog park truly the expectation that you had? Like, why you got this dog? Did you get this dog because you wanted to go to the dog park with them all the time? And then, like, what are you getting out of that? Is that, it's not building your relationship with them, right? So that's kind of what I want you guys to think on, because a lot of times what I found is owners, they begin to take their dog to the dog park, and then it becomes like a convenience, and then the actual reasons why they got a dog and the things that you want to do with your dog, the relationship that you want to have, that sort of just falls by the wayside. And then everything gets replaced by a dog park. And also your dog starts developing things that you don't necessarily like. So here's just some alternatives. Number one, and something that's always going to be on the top of this list, is training. I know zero people, myself included, who have perfect dogs. There's always something to train. Something is always there, whether that's going to be teaching your dog how to recall to you, how to come back to you really nicely, or how not to bolt out of your door, or how to walk on a loose leash walk with you, or how to be calm around children, or how to greet guests. The laundry list goes on, or how not to chew your stuff or pee in the house, or whatever issue you're having with your dog, or whatever annoyance it is. I wish my dog didn't bark at the neighbor in my apartment. I wish my dog didn't wake me up in the middle of the night. On and on we can go with these things forever. So there's always something to train your dog, and because of how training is supposed to go, that's automatically going to be relationship building for your dog. It's automatically going to be strengthening that bond you have and developing you in their eyes, so that when you go into areas that have more distractions, or areas that are typically difficult for your dog to function in, now you have some money in the bank with your dog, and they're going to be more responsive to you. Even if they do have other issues than what you're working on, they're going to be more responsive to you because of the training that you've been putting in, regardless of whatever it is. This includes things like trick training, like maybe you want to teach your dog how to shake. Maybe you want to teach him how to give people hugs or say hi, or whatever it is. Even trick training is going to help develop that bond with your dog. And that can also be sort of a, less intimidating way for people to start their training journeys. But so that is like one of the best things you could do with your dog that's not the dog park. There's tons of training resources out there. You can go to the library, get some free books. There's a lot of resources online that will help you, at least with very rudimentary things. So there are options out there for you to take a look at and practice yourself. The next thing that you can do, and so the rest of these are in no particular order. It's up to you to choose what you want to do, is taking hikes or doing longer walks with your dog. So in a lot of the dog parks that exist, they're usually attached to like an existing park, or sometimes the dog park is at the beach. There's more than just the dog park there. So this is where you could walk your dog. You can go take them on a hike. You can do other things besides plopping them in the dog park and being like, good luck, and hoping nothing goes wrong. So this is something too where while you're taking your walk, guess what? You can be training your dog too. You can be helping reinforce like your recalls with them. You can be working on obedience randomly throughout the walk. You can do all sorts of things like that with your dog while they're on that walk, while they're on that hike. And it will burn, it'll mentally stimulate your dog, and it is going to be burning energy. Yes, it's true that your dog's not going to be totally wiped out and pass out in your house. Like the dog park, so let me go back a step. There's a big misconception that that's a good thing for your dog, that they passed out like after they're done doing their stuff because they were so tired from running around like a maniac that they couldn't stay awake in the car. They couldn't, they literally laid down, and for like 6 hours until bedtime they were asleep. Then they slept through the whole night, and even maybe the next day they're still recovering for some of these dogs. That's not healthy. I mean, think about the last time you went to the gym, or you exercised, or you did something strenuous. Were you having to recover for days at a time? Like, were you so tired that you couldn't drive yourself home? You had to call someone to drive you and you fell asleep in the car? So the amount of energy that a dog puts forth, and like it just completely drains them. This activity completely drains them. Imagine doing something like that yourself. What would that take? What would it be? Something draining, like, I don't know, an emergency situation, like somebody is dying and you have to, hike them down a mountain, get them to a hospital, and like a few hours later, there's finally time for rest and you pass out, like you're asleep. Like, it's things like that where it's a very kind of a serious thing. And for dogs, it's no different. Your dog is made as a scavenger. They're not made to do that kind of stuff. Like, scavengers don't expend all of their energy and I didn't catch the thing, or I didn't find food today and now my energy's gone and I have to rest for days at a time to recover it. That's not natural. So it's a pretty big misconception that that's a good thing. Although I will admit that for some humans, their dog might be annoying or obnoxious or be bothering them all the time, and they don't know how to fix that. And their solution is, let me take my dog to the dog park because when they're asleep, they don't bother me. Which, that's kind of a separate topic in and of itself. So we have hiking and we have training. What else? Swimming. You can take your dog swimming. Even if they don't have a very good recall, you can take your dog swimming potentially like on a long line, or if you're alone or something like that, you can go to a lake. Rivers can be a little bit sketchy, so you have to sort of figure out if that's kind of a safe place. In general, swimming is a good activity for most dogs. The only dogs who should not go swimming are dogs who have very flat faces. So if you have pugs, if you have like Boston Terriers, or if you have boxers or anything like that, the flat-faced dogs can have difficulty swimming. Some of them, they're not very buoyant because they have very dense little bodies. So that's a safety concern. Be aware of that. Be aware. But so swimming is an activity. You can take your dog just for like a longer walk around your neighborhood or something like that. It doesn't even have to be around your neighborhood. It could be somewhere new. Like if you were nervous about walking around your neighborhood because there's off-leash dogs or things like that, there's no reason why you can't drive your dog to the next neighborhood over to walk them. I know that sounds potentially kind of weird. It's like, oh, I'm going in a strange neighborhood. But at the same time, we do know that there are some neighborhoods that are pretty prone to people leaving their dogs outside, or they don't have their dog on leash and they charge you or things like that. But we also know there's other neighborhoods that are potentially, I don't want to say a little bit nicer, but it's just a different feeling in those neighborhoods, and they don't have loose dogs. They don't have a high risk involved with them. So another thing that you can do is you can do like a car ride. So depending on the kind of car ride you go on, this can also drain energy mentally. And I do want to clarify again, none of these activities are meant to exhaust your dog. Your dog should not be exhausted. It's okay for them to be tired. That's totally fine. And the level of tiredness that your dog has after these things is going to vary as well. You can take your dog on a longer walk. You can go to a new park. And if you want to give your dog more freedom, you can walk them on a longer leash. And I'm not talking about a flexi lead. I'm talking about like a literal leash that is longer. They do sell leashes. They're called long lines. And they can be pretty much as long as you want them. Like I have a ton of them because I do use them a lot. I have a 50-foot one, I have a 30-foot one, I have a 20-foot one, 15 feet. It's not too much to manage. And it does give your dog a little bit of additional freedom, which I think is another goal that people think that dog parks do. But in reality, it's not giving your dog freedom in a productive way. It's just teaching them to ignore you. Anyways, back to the topic at hand. So there's all sorts of games that you can play with your dog too. Things that are not necessarily training, like you don't have a real goal in mind, but the object is to just have fun. And they don't even have to look like, oh yeah, I'm teaching my dog fetch, or I'm playing with a frisbee, or I'm doing something like that. They don't even have to look like that. They could be, having your dog chase you around the house, or having your dog scavenge for their food in the lawn, or hiding your dog's toys and playing hide and seek with them, or playing hide and seek with the people. So there's all these little things that you can do either throughout the day or places you can take your dog for experiences out in the world that are not the dog park. And I'm sure there's a ton more. Like if you're more of an active person, you can take your dog for a jog with you, or for a run, or on your bike, which they do sell attachments for your bike. If you're going to take your dog on a bike ride with you, please don't just use the leash. You're going to want to buy a bike attachment because that's the safest way to do it. We don't want any accidents. We don't want your dog, cutting out in front of you and getting run over, or you like having to slam on the brakes and flying over your bike. We don't want that at all. So keep in mind safety, but at the same time, there are other activities that you can do with your dog and that you should be able to do with your dog, especially if you are developing that relationship and you really do have that relationship with your dog. There's other things you can do. So let me know if you guys have any questions, and I will see you in the next one.